My parents were in their 40s when I was born, so it was kind of like having grandparents that raised me. My parents, they drank and they were gone a lot. I had 3 other siblings that were, when I was born, they were in their 20s. 2 of them were heroin addicts and 1 of them was an alcoholic. I remember the first time I did methamphetamine, I asked the person that was giving it to me if you could inject it because I'd seen my sister inject heroin so many times. And I said, I only want to do it if I could inject it. And so I had somebody inject it for me because I wanted to be like my sister.
Well, my father got his fingers cut off. He got a settlement. So that lifestyle was financed with money, so he was able to do a lot of drugs and sell a lot of drugs out of our house and such. So it was a partying lifestyle. And there was a lot of neglect. I just tried to stay busy with sports and such. It's in my sophomore year in high school, I separated my shoulder. So I couldn't play sports, so we started drinking and getting into trouble. My sophomore year, we were stealing cars, and my junior year, we were running around with guns and stuff.
Well, I dropped out of high school when I was 16, and I got married, and we really got into methamphetamine. And I was at this barber shop getting my hair cut one day. It was a beauty shop, barber shop, and the barber that was there, he had introduced me to prostitution. My husband didn't know, and I was lying to him where I was getting the money. I was saying my grandparents were sending it to me. I didn't even have any grandparents. They had passed away before I was born. And so I was into prostitution before I was 18 years old. And by the time I was 21, I was doing a year plus 45 days in the county jail on forgery charges. And that's when I knew that I really had a problem.
I was using drugs every day, drinking a lot of alcohol. I wouldn't get out of bed unless I was using drugs. And I had gone to rehab prior to that, and my wife said, I can't do this anymore, you have to go. And I had like 7 driving on suspended license that I couldn't afford to pay. So they set it up for me to turn myself in. I turned myself in. I did a couple of days in the intake portion of the jail, and then they sent me to the honor farm. While I was in there, I just got to this realization that I kept skipping out on my children. When they came to visit me at the honor farm, I told them I was in school. Big blue jumpsuit and says jail on the side. I wasn't kidding anyone. It was really sad. I came to the realization that I have nowhere to go.
When I became homeless, I'd been in my home for 8 years that I was buying my house, and the police came to my house and evicted me out of my house because I wasn't making the payments and the house was going to be foreclosed on and everything. So anyway, I had to leave. I had no family here in Stockton and I didn't know what to do, so I found myself walking around on the streets at night. And I seen a lot of people that were homeless, and until that point I didn't even know that people really lived under bridges or on the side of roads. I really didn't think they did. I thought the people at the store that asked for money were just doing that because they wanted money, but they really had a home that they went to in the evening, and I was wrong. I remember walking under bridges and by railroad tracks, and I would see people camped out there, and I thought, there is no way I can lay my head down and feel comfortable there. So I would walk. And I would walk, and I would walk till I had blisters on my feet. They would hurt so bad, and it would be so cold sometimes. And I would try to find like a laundry room in apartments or something to sleep in where I was, inside. And then after a while, I started getting used to the lifestyle, and I set my little camp up under the bridge over on Country Club and I-5 over there, and that's where I stayed. I made it like a little house. There's my old mattress. I drug it from the street over there. Me and some friends did. When I first became homeless, I thought this isn't going to last long. I'll get it back together. Tomorrow's another day. I'm going to quit using tomorrow and I'll get it back together. And then it turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, and months turned into years.
They shipped me out. I got a ride to downtown, and I was looking for St. Mary's. And I walked right past this building, and I was lost. And there was the houseman at the time was Shane. He changed my life. He said, what are you doing out here in San Joaquin Church? They're gonna beat you up, or somebody's gonna rob you. And I had my bag of stuff from jail, just a bunch of letters, paperwork. I said, I'm trying to find a place to stay. He said, well, you can stay here. So I stayed here as a emergency lodging guest. And then I noticed people that were eating at different times, and they were coming down and they had just showered in some mysterious place. They were they had a little different. But they looked like me, but they were on a different path. Like they knew they were getting what they wanted. So I got into the drug program, and I've been there almost a little over 3 years. It's a Christian-based drug program that helped me a lot. I needed to be given a chance because of what I didn't have. And that needed to come from inside me to give myself a chance.
Yeah. But this is just, this kind of junk's normal. This is what it usually looks like under the bridges. I realized that the streets weren't safe. Until that point, I didn't really care. I would just do whatever I had to do to get drugs. But this night, I came home under the bridge, and there was some people that camped next to where I camped at that I didn't get along with. And I remember I came up the hill behind the bridge, and it was really, really dark. And I remember kneeling down and looking under there, and I could see people moving around. And I had hollered for a friend of mine because I wanted them to walk with me under the bridge to my side of the camp. And then I saw somebody walking beside me, and I was kneeling down, and I saw she had something in her hand. And the next thing I felt was a blow to the back of my head. And I wasn't unconscious because I remember everything. As I was lying on the ground, I was trying to drag myself away from her because she had it was a piece of steel rebarb in her hand, and she was still hitting me while I was on the ground. And I kept trying to drag myself away from her, and I remember thinking to myself that what will they do with my body if I die? Are they going to throw me in the channel? And I remember thinking, what will they tell my children? You know, who's going to tell my children? Will they even know that I'm gone? How long will it take for them to find me? And she hit me right here, and I fell down. And then I rolled down there, and she kept trying to hit me with the rebarb. And then by the time I got it away from her, we were back out here, and I had her pinned down to the ground, and I was bleeding really bad. And she hollered for the guy, and he came over and started kicking me. Yep. After I was released from the hospital, I realized how dangerous the streets were, and that if I didn't stop doing what I was doing, that I was going to die.
The rescue mission today then is not only a work for single men, but it's also a work for women and families. We have, in our early years, emphasized emergency lodging, trying to keep people fed, sheltered, and clothed. But in more recent times, we realized that all that does is keep people alive. And if you're going to impact their lives, change their lives, then you have to address the real problem that makes them homeless to start with. And in most cases, that's addiction or addiction issues, and typically drug and alcohol issues. So we have emphasized the treatment of addiction issues in our programming so that people who come to the rescue mission can sign up for a 6-month program and go through addiction treatment. And then ultimately they can apply for a second 6 months and a year, and then we'll stay with them as much as 3 years so that they really can rebuild their lives.
I just didn't see drugs coming back into the play of things.
I gave my life to God when I got here, and I think that that's what lacked from the other programs that I was in, that they weren't Christian-based programs. And I think that is what the turning event in my life is giving my life to God. Well, my goals with my family is just to continue building the relationship with my son and my daughter, who mean the world to me, and I'm starting to mean the world to them again, which I don't ever want to change that.
Philosophy and sociology and ethics later, I've got an AS degree. So I got my EMT certificate. You know, I passed all my fire classes. I got 3.5 GPA. Had nothing but time to study, go to work, see my kids.
I just feel very blessed. I think the best way I could describe it is that everything I've been through in my life, that God had a plan and a purpose for me, and I think that this is part of it. It has to be, because it's not just by a coincidence that I showed up here and that I'm in the position that I'm in. I think it was one of God's plans. I don't know what else He has planned, but I know wherever I go, I will always be humble, and I will always look at the people who are homeless totally different than I did before.